under unit multipliers, which nobody understands anyways. But you can read that. Today we talk about this under unit multiple, whatever that says. Multiple unit multipliers. In my kingdom for a horse. Why? What do we use unit multipliers to do? Cameron.
So like convert one measurement to a different.
Converting measurements. Thank you so much. That is bonus points there. Now, today what we're talking about is this. This is an incredibly difficult concept for people to get. Let me just ask you a question. If you have, let's say you've got 7 square yards. No, let's not do that. Let me change this to 9. If you have 9 square yards, and I want you to turn that into how many square feet that is, I would be willing to bet that most of you could do that in your head. Anybody? Shoot me the answer there. Maggie Dervis.
No, sorry.
Don't panic, Maggie. It'll be okay. What did you get, though?
27.
27! And you are absolutely positively wrong. Okay? You are wrong, and I was setting you up for the kill there. Just setting you up because I need you to understand that. When you are talking about area, now watch me draw it out. Let's say I've got 9 square yards. Probably the easiest way to draw that out, this is not drawn to scale. If I have a square that is 3 yards by 3 yards, would that not be 9 square yards? Somebody say yes.
Yes.
Now, take a look at this. Okay? Take a look at this and see why, Maggie, and that's, everybody does this. Everybody in the world would say, 95% of the people in the world would say 27, because they always think there's 3 feet a yard, which there are. But you have to look at this. So here, let me split this. Here's my 3 yards. Here's 1 yard here, 2 yards there. That's my 3 yards, right? And my 3 yards going the other way are like this, right? There's my 3 yards going this way. Feel free to chime in with yes, that looks perfect.
Yes.
Alright, here is what people fail to understand about this here, is that, children, how many feet are in 1 yard? 3, correct? So if this is 1 yard right here, I split this into 3 pieces, 1, 2, 3, and each one of those is a foot. I split this into 3 pieces, and each one of those 1 yard becomes 3 feet, and I split this. I should probably try to split a little nicer. Into 3. So 3 yards is, yes, how many feet? 27 feet, correct? I'm sorry, 9. 9 feet, correct? There's 9 feet going this way. Okay, but that's not all. You have to do the same thing for this dimension as well. In other words, this 1 yard also gets split into 3 feet. This one also gets split into 3 feet. This one also gets split into 3 feet. And that makes this 3 yards is the same thing as 9 feet. Correct? So, what really is the answer to this? If this thing 3 yards by 3 yards is the same thing as saying 9 feet by 9 feet, how many square feet, if you were to count all these squares I drew up, how many square feet would you get, Alex? 81 is the correct answer. 81 square feet. So you have to be incredibly careful when you change area, and the reason for that is area is based on 2 dimensions, multiplying 2 dimensions together, and both of those dimensions change. Okay, it's not just, 1 foot is 12 inches. But if you do a foot by a foot, and I ask you how many square inches that is, it's not 12 square inches because you have a foot getting changed to 12 inches here and a foot getting changed to 12 inches there. It's actually 1 square foot is how many square inches? 144 because it's 12 times 12. Now you ask, what does that have to do with unit multipliers?
What does that have to do with?
Thank you for asking that. See, because unit multipliers is based on labels, watch and see how this works. Let me go back to my 9 square feet. I'm sorry, 9 square yards. Converting that into square feet. Remember, unit multipliers is all about getting labels to cross off. Well, square yards, how do I write square yards? Really, I write square yards like this. 9 yards squared. That's square yards. And what does that really mean? 9 square yards means 9 yards times yards. This little square sign, what does it mean? It means you multiply two of the exact same thing together. The squared sign is not with the 9, it's with the label. 9 square yards means you have 9 yards times yards. And that means if you are multiplying and trying to get your labels to cross off, you have to use one unit multiplier to cross off with each of these yards. So this, one of them would have to be here, one of them would have to be here. I want to change it into square feet, so I need each one of those to be identical. They're going to be the same. And I know that there are 3 feet in a yard, 3 feet in a yard. And then you just do the math. The labels cross off, and you're left with 9 times 3 times 3, which is where we got 81. What's left for labels? Feet times feet, which is feet squared. Guess what happens with volume? Volume is measured in cubic units. Okay, so if I was trying to convert 9 yards cubed into feet cubed, well, yards cubed means you have this, 9 yards times yards times yards. That's yards cubed. And in order to convert a cubic measurement, you have to use 3 of the same unit multipliers that converts yards into feet. And they would both all go on bottom, and 3 would go on top, along with the feet, along with the feet, along with the feet. Oh, what was that? Cross off, cross off, cross off, cross off. 9 cubic yards is how many cubic feet? 9 times 3 times 3 times 3. Holy smokes, is that right? Yeah, 9 times 3 is 27. 27 times 3 is 81. 81 times 3 is 243 feet cubed. And that's the reason it's called multiple unit multipliers, because it's all about the labels. Whatever the labels are, you have to get it to cross off. Let's see what else it is. Here's one. 1 meter cubed to centimeters cubed. 1 meter cubed, and I want to know how many centimeters cubed that is. Looking at the label, then really on your paper, I need to see this. It's 1 meter times meter times meter, because that's what meter cubed is. It's not the one that gets cubed, it's just the meter. And I need to change each one of those meters into centimeters. And what is the conversion from centimeters to meters? 100 centimeters per 1 meter. So the answer to this is going to be, what is 1 times 100 times 100 times 100? Oh boy. How many zeros do you see there? 6. 1 with 6 zeros after. 1 million. 1 cubic meter is the same as 1 million Another case in point is this. Anybody know what this block is? A cubic what? You probably don't, because we don't use this measurement in the metric system very often. It is a cubic, it is. This is a cubic decimeter. Okay, we don't use that deci very often, but how many centimeters make up a decimeter?
10.
Just 10. So if you're looking at this, my cubic decimeter, and I want to change it into cubic centimeters, I would have to do decimeter times decimeter times decimeter. Oops, that's way too long. Times. Decimeter has to go on the bottom to cross off, centimeters on top. How many centimeters? 10 times 10 times 10. What is 10 times 10? How many cubic centimeters are in this thing? 1,000. 1,000, which is really what it is. You can see there's 100 on each layer. 10 layers of 100 is 1,000. Then here we go. Sometimes your multiple unit multipliers aren't necessarily changing cubics or squares. They could be this. 10 yards per second into feet per minute. 10 yards per second into feet per minute. What's the beauty of this? So I do start the same way. I make this into what fraction it is. 10 yards per second. Now, what labels do I need to change? Why is this called multiple? Well, because I'm changing yards into feet, and I'm also changing seconds into minutes. And you have to do that one step at a time. Doesn't matter which one you do first. Let's change seconds into minutes. Well, if I'm changing this seconds into minutes, what am I going? What's going to go on over here at this fraction? Where is seconds going to go? Top or bottom? Top, because it has to cross off. Changing it into minutes, and there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So now I've changed my seconds into minutes. Now I need to change this yards into feet. It's on top here, so it's going to go where on the new one? Bottom. And what's going to go on top? Feet. There are 3 feet in 1 yard. Okay, and yards have now crossed off. I'm left with the label I want. I want feet per minute. I just need to do the math. 10 times 60, 600. 600 times 3, 1,800 feet per minute. Multiple unit multipliers. And here's a good case in point, and I honestly, I have used this. You might say, what one is math? You know, if you wanted to know how many, 1 mile equals how many kilometers? 1 mile equals how many kilometers? Well, if you don't know the conversion rate, you could look it up, I'm sure, you could Google it or whatever. You could change it step by step into something you could. Does anybody know any metric conversion to any unit in our standard form? Well, let's see if we can figure that out without just writing it down there. Anybody know anyone? Does anybody know how many centimeters are in an inch? There's more, a little bit more. Not close. Brooke says the correct one. There's 2.54 centimeters equals 1 inch. So knowing that, knowing the one jump I can make from the English to the metric system, okay, I can go from what? I would have to make these jumps. I can go from a mile into what? Anybody know how many somethings are in a mile? No, I'm not on metric system. This is my metric system one. 1 mile is how many feet? Okay, so we're going to go from miles to feet, and then because we want to know we have inches here, we're going to go from feet to inches. Then we're going to go from inches into centimeters, and then we're gonna go centimeters into meters, and then we'll go from meters into kilometers. Okay, so to get this one thing, I've gotta actually go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we'll see if Alex is, how close as 1.6 is. I think that's as close as you can get. So let's do the unit multipliers. 1 mile over 1. And Brooke says how many, I'll put miles down here. How many feet are in a mile? She has a little cheat sheet there. There's 5,280 feet in a mile. So I've just now converted my 1 mile into feet. Now I'm gonna change my feet into inches. How many inches are in a foot? 12. Now I'm gonna change inches into centimeters. Where does inches have to go? On the bottom. How many centimeters in an inch? 2.54. So now I've changed the whole thing into centimeters. Now I'm going to change centimeters into meters. How many meters in a centimeter, or centimeters in a meter? 100 centimeters in 1 meter. And then I'm going to change meters. Please tell me, do I have some? Let me scooch this all over so I thought you're mesmerized by all this. Anybody besides me? Don't worry, I'll get there. Where can I grab this? Oh yeah, I'll put it right here. Oh no, not gonna put it. Grab it. And then I'm gonna change what? I have to change meters into what? Kilometers, that's what I wanted, right? Yes, Mr. Armstrong. There's 1,000 down there, correct? So now I've changed it all into kilometers, I just need to do the math, and to do the math, I'm gonna have to multiply 5,280 times 12 times 2.54, and divide it by 100 is divided by 1,000. To which you're gonna say, why don't you use the calculator to do that? I can't find a calculator. Where'd it go?
Look harder.
Where'd it go? Let's see if Alex 1.6 is actually accurate here. So 5,280 times what? 12. That gives me 63,000. Where'd it go? How come the calculator doesn't stay up there? 360. Then I'm going to multiply by 2.54. Which gives me 169.34.4. 169.34.4. And then Alec, what am I going to have to do? You should be able to do this mentally. How do I divide that by 100? Just move the decimal 2 places, right? How do I divide that by 1,000? Move the decimal 1, 2, 3 places. Guess what? It's actually 1.609344. Sorry, Alec. Your 1.6 is slightly askew. So there's your conversion. 1 mile equals 1.6, and that's where we round it to 1.6 kilometers. Wasn't that fun?
Can you just guess?
What's up?
Can you just guess?
No,
No, it says that it's approximately equals to.
Some of you guess anything. Here, let me give you one to do. Let's see if we can do this. 1 gallon per day to quarts per hour. 1 gallon per day. And change that into quarts per hour. 1 gallon per day into quarts per hour. Let's see how many people. I am hoping for a 75% success rate. You can't go wrong, by the way, if you're using multipliers. You just can't go wrong. It's a no-brainer thing. You don't have to know anything. You just have to know how many quarts are in a gallon and how many hours are in a day. If you know those 2 things, you should be able to do this mathematically quite easily. Gallon per day into quarts per hour. Got answers? Gallon per day into quarts per hours. Okay, Brian, you got something for me yet? No, you're still tabulating? I think the math should not be terribly difficult. Gallons per day into watts per hour. Cameron, you got an answer? You've got 96. Anybody else got 96? Let's look, I don't know. Which one did you change first, gallons or days? Alright, so you said this, gallons is on top, so I put gallons on the bottom. I'm changing it into quarts, correct? And I know that there are 4 quarts make up 1 gallon, right? That's where we're at. So gallons have now been changed to quarts. I need to change days into hours. Days is on the bottom, so days has to go on top over there. Hours have to go on the bottom. How many hours in a day? 24. Now I've gotten rid of my days. My labels are right, it's quarts per hours, but I end up with 4 over 24, which is not 6 or 96. It is, reduce it, it's 1/4 of a quart per day. It's actually a fraction, if you look at it the way it says there. Oh, sorry, 1/6. I was just checking to see if you're listening. Quarts per hour. Sorry. Again, just checking. Does that look better? Oh, you confuse people. Like you've never made a mistake before, Shellhammer. I don't like you. Huh? Does that make sense? Does that help a little bit? Honestly, like I said, if you do this and you'll be able to use this for science and all those other things where you're changing conversion things, if you get the gist of this. And people get in trouble because they don't like to write labels down, but labels are the most important thing in trying to figure out all this humbug here.